Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the John Campea Show here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an honor and a privilege to have you guys here today. And my voice might still be a little bit gone from all the cheering and hooping and hollering I did at the UFC fights the other night, watching George St. Pierre come out of a 4-year retirement to win the middleweight championship. What a great night of fights that was. And yes, I'm still talking about it because, yes, I'm that excited about it. Anyway, guys, this is, of course, the show where we talk about our favorite things, movies and television, all sorts of things related to entertainment. And here's how today's show is going to go. I got a bunch of items that I've picked out, most of which are questions that you guys and topics that you guys have sent in to me. How do you get a topic or a question on the John Campea Show? It's quite simple. You just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Send on in that email. Make sure you put the word topic in the subject line or else I won't see it. And of course, as always, make sure you keep your emails to 90 words, preferably less. The shorter, the better, because otherwise I just can't even fit it on the screen. Then I'm going to save a little bit of time near the end of the show and take live questions from those of you guys who are watching live right now. And now I do this show live every day, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I also do it on the weekends, but the time varies because I like to sleep in a little bit. So what you guys will do if you're watching live is near the end of the show, I'll let you know when to start sending in your tweets. You're going to tweet to me at John Campea. Make sure you're following me on Twitter as well, but tweet to me at John Campea, and I will get just as many of your tweets on the show as I can. Maybe you will see your tweet pop up here on the bottom of the screen. So, with all that out of the way, let's get started with this. I mentioned this in a video yesterday, but the box office numbers have come out. Thought it's worth repeating again here today. Thor Ragnarok absolutely crushed the box. I think it made more money than like double what every other movie combined made. It came in at $121 million. Early estimates put it around 110 to 120. Late estimates put it anywhere between 120 and 125. Comes in at $121 million. And now that puts it ahead, as we were kind of expecting, of Spider-Man Homecoming. Spider-Man Homecoming's opening weekend box office was $117 million. We talked last week, if you guys remember, about how Fandango reported that Thor was actually outpacing Spider-Man Homecoming, and we speculated, well, that means it'll probably do better than Spider-Man Homecoming did, and it did. Comes in at $121 million. Now, I mentioned this on a video last night, but it's worth repeating here. Put this into perspective about how good of a result that is for Thor Ragnarok, okay? Think of it in these terms. The opening weekend of the first Thor movie made $65 million, and it went on to make $449 million worldwide. Thor: The Dark World beat that and made $85 million on its opening weekend, and it went on to make $644.5 million worldwide. Thor Ragnarok now opens up at it blows its previous films away with a $121 million opening, and this is the key thing. In 1 week, because it was open in international markets for about a week already. In 1 week, if you count international markets and the domestic box office, it's made $427 million in 1 week. That is almost, in 1 week, as much as the first Thor movie made in its entire worldwide theatrical run. So $121 million opening weekend is an impressive number. Beating Spider-Man Homecoming, which currently is the #1 box office movie of the year for the comic book genre. So beating out Spider-Man Homecoming's opening weekend box office, that's all impressive. When you look at it in context and you see the leaps and bounds, we often talk on the show about trajectory. The audience ratings are super high. The critic ratings are super high. The financial box office windfalls are super high. This is a Thor franchise and an MCU that just seems to be on this kind of a trajectory. So that's got to be thrilling. And these are stunning numbers. These are great. And just about everybody's seen it. Now, it's going to be very interesting to see what Thor Ragnarok's second weekend is going to be like, because there's really nothing monstrous opening up against it next week. Obviously, Justice League comes in 2 weeks. That's when you're going to see a significant drop-off for Thor Ragnarok, because it's going to be in its third weekend. Most people have already seen Thor, and now the new shiny Justice League comes out. You're going to see Thor Ragnarok take a big beating on its third weekend, but how well will it do on its second? I'm thinking we're going to see a 51% drop Because when you get a movie that has $121 million, that means everybody's rushing out to see it already, so people have seen it. I think it's going to be around a 51% drop. We'll see how that holds up. What do you guys think about that whole thing, about it making 120 million, blowing away the previous installments of the Thor Ragnarok stuff? Increased audience ratings, increased critic ratings. I mean, Kevin Feige may not have been thinking about a Thor 4 at some point. He may not have been thinking about that. He might have been thinking, you know what? We'll do the third Thor movie, then we'll use Thor in a couple of MCU movies, and we'll call it a day with Thor. But at this point, you got to start wondering, maybe yes. Now, there are some people who are saying online, well, the reason Thor Ragnarok did so well is because Hulk was in it. That's why it did so well. And while I completely agree that Hulk being in Thor Ragnarok probably helped, let's do this. Thor Ragnarok, Hulk being in that movie probably did help. Absolutely no doubt about it. I'm not saying it didn't. However, think of it in these terms. The last standalone Hulk movie, altogether worldwide, made $263 million. So it's not like Hulk was smashing, no pun intended. It's not like Hulk was smashing box office records on his own. So did Hulk being in Thor Ragnarok help it? I'm sure it did. Did Valkyrie and the great reviews that Tessa Thompson's getting, did that help? I'm sure it did. Did, Tom Hiddleston playing Loki, coming back to play Loki, did that help? I'm sure it did. Every movie has a whole bunch of contributing factors. But I think it would be naive to say, well, the reason Thor Ragnarok did so well is because Hulk was in there. The stats and the numbers don't support that theory. Because when Hulk had his own standalone movies, we didn't see anything close to these types of box office numbers. And you could say, well, it's a little bit of a different Hulk now. Yeah, it's a little bit of a different Hulk now. And like I said, I certainly think Hulk was a contributing factor. The fact that you're mixing a little bit of that World War Hulk stuff as well, that's all cool. Or Planet Hulk, I should say. World War Hulk comes later. But yeah, I just don't think you can say that's the reason. But anyway, give me your thoughts in the comments below. All right. Let's move on to the first emailed in topic today. And you know what? I got to apologize because this is a topic that was supposed to be on yesterday's show, and I forgot about it. It was the last question of yesterday's show, and I accidentally skipped over it. So we're going to start off today's show with this question. And this question comes to us from Krum, who writes, "Hello, John. Been a fan of your show for a long time now. My question is, where is the Suicide Squad in the upcoming Justice League movie? I thought Amanda Waller's whole point was she wanted to use them as a first line of defense against villains like Steppenwolf. I hope they don't use the Suicide Squad just for their own standalone movies." And you know what, Krum? You raise a good point. You do. You raise a perfectly good, valid point. Like the whole purpose, like Amanda Waller in Suicide Squad said, I need to put this team together because we need a first line of defense against these, meta-human threats that come and face the world. Superman's now dead. We need to have this first line of defense team to put together and, fight off all these super-powered bad guys. That's what we got to do. Your question, though, does raise one of my big problems with shared cinematic universes. Because when you get these shared cinematic universes, inevitably you go, like you'll have a standalone Thor movie. Well, this one was on in a different planet, so that's fine. It was off in Sakaar, so Captain America couldn't show up to help. But what we get, and this is my big problem with shared universe movies, be they DCEU or MCU or whatever, is, well, why didn't Superman come and help? Well, why didn't Ant-Man come and help? Why didn't the Guardians of the Galaxy come down to help? Why didn't this guy come to help? Why didn't this? Like, everybody just expects now every single movie to be a full DCEU or a full MCU movie. But anyway. But like I said, you do raise a good point about Suicide Squad. The DCEU has set up that the whole purpose of the Suicide Squad being founded was to be the first line of defense against supernatural beings like Steppenwolf, right? Why are they not in this movie? Well, there's a couple of reasons. First of all, and this is the big thing to me, what the hell was the Suicide Squad going to do against Steppenwolf? Seriously. Or the Parademons. What the hell are they going to do against them? Because here's the thing, right? And this was, if you saw my review, you know I like Suicide Squad. I had a big kick with Suicide Squad. Yes, narratively it was a hot mess, and it had its problems, yes, but I had fun with it. I thought it was a kick of a movie to watch. But one of my criticisms of Suicide Squad was they marketed this thing there are these metahumans in the world, so we got to put together a team of the worst metahumans to stand against them. But what metahumans? Harley Quinn is a chick with a baseball bat. Woo! Deadshot's a guy with really good aim. Well, that's awesome as long as you're not fighting an alien race that has, like, say, bulletproof armor, or a guy like Steppenwolf so that bullet's not going to do anything against. But okay, he's a dude with really good aim. Captain Boomerang is a dude who throws boomerangs. All right? Captain Boomerang is a dude who throws boomerangs. The military guy, I can't even remember his name now. The military dude, he's just a military guy. He's a good soldier, but he's just a soldier. The only metahuman defense you got there is Diablo, and he's gone apparently. And Croc, who is a tougher than normal dude because of his mutation. Okay. But seriously, what are these guys going to do against an army of parademons and Steppenwolf? Harley, go get Steppenwolf. Yeah, okay. Yeah. What's she going to do? What's Deadshot going to do? Seriously. And honestly, that's just what's Killer Croc going to do. Like, in a movie like this, or you're talking Justice League, look, I feel very comfortable saying, especially with Diablo not there, because of how Suicide Squad ended, Aquaman will take out the entire Suicide Squad by himself. Wonder Woman would take out the entire Suicide Squad by herself. Batman has taken down all of the Suicide Squad. Superman would take out the entire Suicide Squad by himself. Cyborg would take out the entire Suicide Squad by himself. Flash would take out the entire Suicide Squad before they even knew a fight was starting. And then don't even get me started if Green Lantern actually does show up, or if some future incarnation Martian Manhunter comes up. I mean, look, Suicide Squad is great if you put them in a movie where they can deal with certain things. That's great, and that's fun, and that's awesome. I mean, look, you can't have a movie of just Batman versus Steppenwolf either. That fight's not going to go so well. Although Batman did beat Superman, so maybe he'd find a way. But anyway, so just from a filmmaking point of view, it would seem rather odd and unnecessary and kind of useless to put Suicide Squad in with Justice League. Justice League is like, okay, guys, we're facing the greatest threat the world's ever known. We got to stand together. We got to band together. And then the Suicide Squad comes up and says, hey, guys, we'll help. And Justice League be like, just do us a favor and stay out of the way. Please just stay out of the way. Guy with great aim and girl with baseball bat. Woo! Just stay out of the way. I mean, that's what it'd be. And like I said, I'm not dissing on Suicide Squad because I had a kick with that movie. And I'm really looking forward to watching the next one. You just have to you can't take them too far out of their depth. And you can make the argument that the first movie already took them out of their depth with, breakdancing jiggly girl who's had too much acid, Yeah, you can make that argument, sure, but that wasn't a great ending. They kind of botched the landing on that movie, I thought. But anyway, so I think that's why, you mentioned in your question, you hope they don't just use them in their own standalones. I do. They just hope they just use them in their own standalones. Unless they're just going to make cameos here and there. I'm perfectly happy with Suicide Squad. I like it the way it is. Yes, there are things they need to improve, but I like the Suicide Squad. I'm more than happy just to watch them in their own standalone films. Me personally, that's it for me, because I don't like too much crossover in my cinematic universes anyway, but that's just me. I know a lot of you guys love massive amounts of crossover. That's awesome if you do, but to me, that's why they didn't use Suicide Squad and probably why they won't moving forward. But anyway, thanks a lot for the question, man. I'm sure you guys have a lot of thoughts on that. Jump into the comment section and let me know what you think. All right, let's move on now to the next question. And the next topic today comes to us from Cameron Rafferty, who writes, so I have to ask, Tyrese Gibson, as you predicted, has now apologized and has suddenly changed his mind about The Rock and Fast 9. If the studio doesn't take action and get rid of him, is this a sign of weakness and a window for him to do it again? Well, yeah, for those of you who might have been on vacation for the last little while, what he's talking about is, of course, Tyrese has been carrying on this feud with The Rock for whatever reason, because the studio, not The Rock, the studio decided they wanted to bump Fast 9 by an extra year and do this Rock and Jason Statham spin-off movie, which I'm looking forward to. I'm really excited about that. I think that's going to be wonderful. I can't wait to see these two characters paired together. But for whatever reason, Tyrese Gibson decided to take personal exception to that. He said, you're being, and he took it on The Rock when it's the studio's decision, not The Rock's decision. So you're being selfish. You're not being the family, blah, 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 blah. And then it culminated with Tyrese putting out a social media thing last week saying, if The Rock comes back for Fast 9, Roman won't be there. I'm not coming back to Fast and Furious if The Rock's still there. Which, of course, I pointed out, guess what, Tyrese? This Roman isn't you. Roman is the studio's character. And if the studios want Roman in the movie, they're going to have Roman. It ain't just going to be you playing him. That's the only difference, is that you're not going to be the one playing him. They'll still have their Roman. It just won't be you. And so, he threw this hissy fit, and then there was all this other strange stuff and horrible stuff going on in Tyrese's life that has to do with his family issues and things with his daughter and stuff like that. Stuff I wouldn't wish on anybody, and I feel very badly for him. However, you cannot cross your personal life with professional life like that. And, he just kind of sunk himself. So, one of the things I said he'll do is look, at some point, Tyrese is going to realize what an idiotic mistake he just made and how he's been acting like a complete child. And he's going to apologize, but it'll be too late. Sure enough, last couple of days, Tyrese gets on social media again and says, I had to talk with one of The Rock's reps. We've smoothed things over. Everything's good now. I'm not going to tweet about this anymore. So the question is, what does the studio do about this right now? I don't think the problem is Universal afraid of looking weak. They don't care about that. All Universal cares about is business. They don't care about looking weak, whatever makes them money. If Universal thought making themselves look like weak little babies would make them money, they'd be perfectly happy looking like weak little babies. That doesn't matter. Here's the problem they face. I think Universal has to get rid of Tyrese. I think they have to at this point. Why? Because this wasn't a one-time thing in the middle of the night. I accidentally sent out a drunk tweet that I shouldn't have sent out. It'll never happen again. This isn't one of those situations. This guy has acted like a child. And I'm a Tyrese fan. I like Tyrese in Fast and the Furious. I'm a fan of his. And the fact that I like seeing him in these movies is part of the reason why I get upset as a fan. It's why are you doing this? You're ruining your presence in the movie. And I like your presence in the movies. But what he has done is this has been a stretched out, elongated series of immature, damaging, self-inflicted wounding that Tyrese has been doing not just to himself, he's been damaging the property. The whole, I talked about this last week. It's the whole thing about Fast and Furious is family. We're all about family. Everything in this movie it's about cars, yes, but it's also about family. It's about family, right? And he's just been blowing up and destroying and crapping on this whole notion of family, airing out all this feuding, having fights with The Rock over pointless stuff, crapping all over Universal's property. He's damaging the property. And here's the thing. I'm not suggesting Tyrese has any sort of mental illness in his family or himself. I'm not suggesting that at all. If he does, that's horrible, and I hope he gets help. But I do think he's mentally weak. Tyrese Gibson is clearly very mentally weak. If he can't restrain himself from jumping online again and again and again and again and venting and targeting and taking it out on The Rock online and airing out all the studio's dirty laundry and making ultimatums and threats to the studio that if you do this, I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. He's done it again and again and again and again. This has been going on for a long time. He has proven himself mentally weak. He can't handle it. And if he hasn't been able to restrain himself and stopping himself from self-destructing and jumping on Instagram, boy, I've got something to say now, I'm sorry, he's going to do it again. The moment the slightest bit of adversity hits him or something happens that he doesn't like, he will do it again. He will damage the property. He will damage the IP. He will damage himself. And I just think Universal may keep him, whatever. But if any executives over at Universal have any brains whatsoever, I'm sorry, Tyrese, but you've done this to yourself. You've got to remove him from the property. You have to. You've got to. He's going to damage the property again. He's just going to do that. Now, whether you just write off the Roman character like many other characters come and go out of the franchise, or whether you replace him with another actor, I don't know. But one thing's for sure. He got to go. Tyrese has got to go. And he's done it to himself. And I hope he's able to relaunch himself and get successful again later on, but he can't do it on the Fast and Furious franchise. He's damaged it too much. So anyway, that's just my thought on all that. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe you guys have a totally different opinion on this. Jump into the comment section and let me know your thoughts. All right, moving on now to the next topic, and I'm sure this is going to generate some debate. This one comes to us from Abdullah, who writes, "Hey John, big fan from Markham. I love Markham, Ontario. That's a beautiful place. My question today is, what movie do you think had the better performances from their young cast, Stranger Things or It?" Well, just to be clear, Stranger Things is not a movie. It's a television show. It plays like a movie for sure. But the basic of your question is, which younger cast was more impressive? Was it the It cast or was it the Stranger Things cast? Now, of course, there's a little bit of crossover, right? So, because you got the one kid in there right here. You got that kid who's in both. So there's a little bit of crossover there. I thought the young cast of It was so charming and so good. And really, besides how well they handled Pennywise in the movie, I think the young actors are the next most important reason why that movie worked and why it worked so well. I really do. I think they were great. I've got nothing but good, positive things to say about this particular kid cast of It. Absolutely nothing but positive things. But it's not even close. The Stranger Things cast by far are more impressive. They made that show, whereas I'd say the main reason It works so well, and certainly the kid cast is a big reason for it, but the biggest one is Pennywise and how well they did Pennywise. The Demogorgon isn't what made season 1, and the other new monster is not what made season 2. It's the kids. And the one kid who plays Will, oh my God, the kid who plays Will, even though he didn't have much to do in season 1, he absolutely deserves an Emmy nomination, at least for Best Supporting Actor for Stranger Things Season 2, because he pulled off so much great, he emoted so much great stuff in that season that he brought me into emotionally, and on a level that I've rarely seen adult actors be able to do. And he was just one of the gang. Like, all of them have so much charm and so much natural charisma as kids that you instantly get attached to them. They draw you into their story and into their life on a level that I've just never seen a kids cast do. Maybe even better so than Stand By Me. I think maybe even better than Stand By Me. They have this cast of kids in Stranger Things drew you into the show in a way that I very rarely have seen a young cast do. So full applause and marks to the young cast of It. Absolutely. And like I said, there's some crossover, but to me, it's not close. To me, it's the Stranger Things cast. That's no disrespect to the It cast because they're great, but the chemistry and everything they were just able to pull together on Stranger Things to me is just unmatched. All right. Let's move on now to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Paul McGilligot, who writes, "Hey John, you mentioned on Sunday's show how you didn't like the way they ended Batman vs. Superman, teasing the return of Supes. Do you think it's possible or likely that the WB imposed the coffin shot on Zack Snyder because the studio is nervous about ending the movie with such a popular character still dead?" Well, thanks a lot for the question, man. And first of all, let's say I didn't say I disliked the ending. No, I just said that ending was a mistake if you wanted to pretend like the return of Superman in Justice League as some kind of surprise. I liked the ending of Batman vs. Superman. I thought that was fine. What I was saying, though, was that if you want your next movie, Justice League, to have Superman's return as some sort of big surprise, then that ending of Batman vs. Superman was a mistake. The ending of the shot on the coffin and then the ground on top of the dirt on top of the coffin starting to shake and elevate into the air and levitate in the air, just like in Man of Steel when Kal-El puts his fist on the ground getting ready to fly and everything shimmers up, because you've revealed already in Batman vs. Superman that Superman ain't dead. You've already revealed it. You've already revealed he's coming back. So if your whole point of Justice League was to try to make the return of Superman some sort of surprise, then that ending is a mistake. That's an error, and it's a mistake. It's also, and since that did happen to me, it's like, why are you even pretending like Superman coming back is going to be some kind of surprise? Everybody knows it's coming, and everybody's expecting it. So now, as far as whether I think that ending of Batman vs. Superman was a studio-imposed thing, quite the opposite. I think that was definitely a Zack Snyder thing. That was definitely a Zack Snyder thing. because he's not worried about the next movie. He's worried about that movie. And that's why they put that in. Warner Brothers seems to be the studio wanting to make the return of Superman a surprise. So if anything, Warner Brothers would have dictated he not put that ending in. So I highly doubt that Zack Snyder putting in that ending in Batman vs. Superman, I highly doubt that was a Warner Brothers directive, because that contradicts what Warner Brothers seems to be trying to do now. So yeah, I think it was a Zack Snyder. And again, I don't think it was a mistake in and of itself for its own movie. Just maybe in context with Justice League, it might have been a mistake. So who knows? We'll have to see how this all plays out. All right, 2 more questions to go, and then I'm going to go to your live questions for those of you guys who are watching live. And the next one comes to us from Dominic Leake. And Dominic Leake writes, my question is, what do you think of the movie ticket subscription service Sinemia? It is similar to MoviePass, but has some interesting differences, like being able to buy in advance online and having the ability to see a film in IMAX and 3D. But at the same time, you can only see up to 3 movies a month. Just want to get your thoughts on the matter. Thanks. Well, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yes, there is another service involved that I just found out about recently called Sinemia. Now, don't let that Q-looking shape fool you. A lot of people think it's called Q Sinemia. It's not. I don't know why that shape is there that looks like a Q. Don't know why it's there, but it's just called Sinemia, okay? So here's the basic rundown of Sinemia. Like MoviePass, where you pay $10 a month for a MoviePass, and you can use it to go see however many movies you want every month, but you can only see each movie once. You can't buy your tickets in advance. You can't see IMAX or 3D or premium theater like AMC Prime. You can't see premium theater things and a couple of other little restrictions. But still, for $10 a month, it's a crazy good deal. The difference with Sinemia is it's a little bit more expensive, but you get a whole lot more flexibility. With Sinemia, and right now, by the way, guys, I am not sponsored in any way, shape, or form by Sinemia, because what I'm about to tell you makes this sound like an info ad, but I am not sponsored by them at all. They don't even know I exist. But here's the thing. They've got a special on right now where their prices are already reduced. So here's one of the other advantages you get with Sinemia. Not only can you buy your tickets advance online, you just use your Sinemia card like any other credit card. You can't do that with MoviePass. You can get IMAX and 3D and AMC Prime and whatever tickets all you want, and you can go to see a movie multiple times if you want. These are huge advantages. Because, for instance, if I had my Sinemia card last week when I bought my opening night Justice League tickets, I'm going to see a press screening of Justice League, but I still wanted opening night tickets because I want to see it with the audience, you know. I couldn't use my MoviePass card because you can't buy your tickets in advance or buy tickets online with it. So if I had my Sinemia card, I could have just gone on the AMC website, bought the tickets, and used that card to pay for my tickets, and boom, I'm done, right? But Sinemia has another advantage over MoviePass, other than being able to buy in advance and buy online and see a movie more than once. The other advantage is they have an option to buy 2 movie tickets. You can sign up for your membership where you get 2 tickets for a movie instead of just 1. So look, here's what I signed up for this the other day, okay? I haven't got my card yet, but here's the card I signed up for. I got that one that's second from the left, Moviegoer Plus 1 3. That's the one I got there, okay? Now, this thing you get for $28 a month or for $30 a month. I can go to see 3 movies with me and a guest. I can buy 2 tickets for 3 movies. That's 6 movie tickets I get for $30. All right. Now you got to understand this. And that's the one I bought. But where I live, a movie ticket at my local theater, the AMC Burbank 16, just a regular movie ticket is $15. So if me and Ann go to see 3 movies, okay, we go to see 3 films, that's $90 I'm dropping for 3 films, which is fine. I mean, that's what I spend to go to the movies. That's okay. But with the Sinemia card, I'm just spending $30. And I can see it in IMAX if I want. I can see it in 3D if I want. Not that I would ever go and see a movie in 3D on purpose. I can buy the tickets in advance if I want, and I get 2 of them. And I'm spending $30 instead of $90. It's a great deal. So I have ordered this card. I'm going to be testing it out when it comes. I will be reviewing it, and I'm keeping my MoviePass card. They both serve very different purposes, but I would think that, honestly, on its surface, even though it's more expensive and you don't get to go to as many movies as MoviePass, I'm thinking on its surface, this Sinemia card might be the better value and the better deal for the average film fan. Seriously, that ability to book your tickets in advance online, which is a huge advantage over the MoviePass card, yet I'm still going to save $60 a month by having it instead of just going to the theater normally and buying tickets. This seems like a great deal for movie fans. So again, I have not used it. I'm going to get my card next week. I will give you guys a full rundown and my review and report on the Sinemia card once I have it. But I would probably encourage you guys to check it out because at least on its surface, it looks good to me. Let's see if it actually works out. All right. Final topic of the day before we go to the live Twitter questions. And this final topic today comes to us from Marcus Martin, who writes, I was wondering about something. Will anyone call Batman out for his role in Superman's death in Justice League? I mean, he may not have pulled the trigger, but he played a major role in the demise of the Man of Steel. That's one of my biggest concerns when it comes to Justice League. How can anyone follow Batman when he, quote unquote, helped kill Superman? Okay, it's a great question. And you know what? The reason I brought this one up is because you're not the first person I've heard say this. It's like, yeah, the world is missing Superman, but why wouldn't the world be pointing a finger and blaming Batman for this? Well, I think for a couple of reasons. Number one, as audiences, as a film fan, as somebody sitting in a movie theater watching the movie, you can't blame Batman for that. Superman was at full strength when he fought Doomsday. Batman didn't weaken him. Superman is not a guy who requires recovery time, okay? Superman is, that's just one of his things. He regenerates, and he regenerates very, very quickly. And besides that, yeah, Batman and Superman went toe-to-toe, and Batman beat Superman. There you go. That's great. But after that, Superman, after fighting Batman, he recovered. After that, Superman went into space and was standing beside a nuclear missile that exploded, okay? And, of course, Doomsday fell back to Earth, continued his rampage. Superman just floated around fried in space. But after floating around fried in space, what happened? The yellow sun started to hit him. His cells soaked up that yellow radiation. Boom! Superman's back to full strength, back down into the fight. So at that point, Batman, the fight Batman and Superman had nothing to do with Superman getting killed at the hands of Doomsday. As a matter of fact, you can make the argument that if Batman didn't fight Superman, he wouldn't have created the kryptonite spear, and Superman wouldn't have been able to have killed Doomsday. If anything, the fight between Batman and I'm really geeking out here. I'm nerding out here. Something awful. But if anything, the fact that Batman hunted Superman and they had that fight ultimately saved the world. Otherwise, Batman never would have made that kryptonite spear. He wouldn't have had it there at the location of the fight. Superman wouldn't have been able to go and get that spear, drive it into the chest of Doomsday, and save the world. Yes, he ended up getting killed in the process, but that had nothing to do with the fight that Batman and him had previously. So, really, if you want to look at it logically, there is no blame to put on Batman here. Batman had nothing to do with the fact that Superman grabbed the Kryptonian spike, drove it into Doomsday as Doomsday took his big bony extrusion and drove it through Superman's chest. His fight with Batman had nothing to do with that. Nothing. Other than be helpful in giving Superman the Kryptonian spike. So that's it. So, and I think the world would probably, and remember, the eyes of the world were not on Batman and Superman fighting. It's not like all the news cameras were there watching Batman and Superman fight. Remember the island, that warehouse thing where they started the fight, that was abandoned. There was no staff there. There was nobody working there. Nobody saw it happen. So the world inside the movie didn't even see it happen, probably are completely oblivious to it. The world outside of the movie, us in the movie theater, we know that Batman had nothing to do with him getting killed. So that would be my personal response to that. What do you guys think? Do you think Batman bears some responsibility to the death of Superman in Batman vs. Superman? Or do you see it the way I do and say, no, he didn't? Jump in the comments section and let me know your thoughts. Okay, guys, now is the time. If you were watching live, and I know there's over like 1,200 of you guys in the chat board right now. If you're watching live, you want to get a live question, and now is the time to start tweeting in your question. Make sure you're following me on Twitter, but start tweeting questions to me at John Campea. But before I get to those, time for my daily commercial break where I do my little shameless plug of my Patreon. Now, as you guys, of course, know, I left the corporate overlords. I decided I worked enough years for corporate overlords and building things for the corporations and being under their thumb. I wanted to do something on my own that was mine and that gave me complete freedom to do whatever I wanted to do. Hence the John Campea YouTube channel. The only reason I'm able to do shows like this one is because of the support of my Patreon members. Do me a favor, guys. If you enjoy my show and if you like watching my content every month and you spend any amount of time every month watching my content, head over to www.patreon.com/John Campea, where you get a whole bunch of information on, number one, what it means to be a Patreon supporter. Number two, how being a Patreon supporter actually makes these shows possible. You're actually responsible for these shows being able to happen. And number three, the benefits of being a Patreon supporter. And after reading all that, if you choose to be a Patreon supporter, you have my eternal gratitude. Thank you so much. And if not, that's totally fine too. I'm just glad you guys are here joining us for the conversation. Okay. With all of that out of the way now, let me get my Twitter board open up here. And I really don't have time to screen these because I do this all by myself. I no longer have a staff of 23 people. I do all the graphics, all the lighting, all the camera, all the production work, all the lighting. I'm the floor director. I'm the on-camera talent, and I can't screen tweets. But here we go. The first tweet today comes to us from Old Man Cal, who writes, John, are you excited for tonight's episode of Lucifer? I am always excited for Lucifer. I love that show. I cannot talk enough about that show. If you guys have not started watching Lucifer, in the words of, the great duo over there on Parks and Rec, treat yourself. Treat yourself to Lucifer. It's a wonderful show. Tom Ellis plays Lucifer himself, who I think right now is the most charismatic dude on television. I really do. I think he makes Lucifer my favorite character on television right now. Lucifer's not my number one favorite show right now. I love the show. But Tom Ellis as Lucifer is easily my favorite character on TV right now. If you haven't checked him out yet, go and check out that show. Let's see. Next one comes to us from Dan Midget 1245 writes, John, are you a fan of the original Trainspotting? The second one is the best film of the year so far. I am a fan of the original Trainspotting, and I liked the second film. I liked Trainspotting too. And you're not the only one who tells me that it's like either your favorite film of the year or in your top 2 or 3. I know a couple of people who feel that way as well. I did not. I didn't think the second one was quite as good as the first. And I enjoyed it. I think it's a very good movie. It gets my heartfelt recommendation. If you haven't seen Trainspotting 2, you absolutely should. So I'm on the same side as you. It's a very good movie. I enjoyed it quite much. Not in my top 10. I think it's quite good. I just didn't quite feel, from my point of view, it didn't live up to the first one. I was very excited about it. I was very satisfied with it. I like it very much, but I don't quite think it's a top 10 film this year, but I'm sure many of you guys might disagree, which is awesome. Jump down to the comment section and let me know. Okay, let's see. This one comes to us from Sela Avi, who writes, John, what is your most awkward interview you ever did? Oh, that one's easy. Whole second though, but I am forgetting the actress's name. Give me one quick second. I gotta look up because it was this actress who was in Les Mis, and I'm just gonna kick myself for not remembering her name. I will get it here in just a second. It was the actress Amanda Seyfried. That's it. It was an interview I did with Amanda Seyfried. And nothing was like Amanda, nothing wrong with her at all. She was great. There was nothing wrong with her. She didn't act in any sort of weird way. But here's why it was very awkward for me. And I'm just trying to find the name of the movie. It's Gone. The name of the movie was Gone, a 2012 film that she did called Gone. And it is a brutally awful movie. Just a brutally awful movie. And I'm not going to lie. Like when I go back, I stopped, even when I was still with AMC and Collider, I stopped doing the celebrity interviews myself a long time ago, unless it was something I was really interested in. I let other people do them because I just wasn't interested anymore. But whenever I would interview somebody, I would never lie to them. And I had to interview a lot of people that I didn't like their movie, but I will never say in an interview, hey, this movie was great. I will never do that. I will never lie. I will try to kind of curve my answers to work around the quality of the film. Like I'll say, hey, you got to work with this director. What was that like? Or tell me about what unique aspects you wanted to bring to the character. Like anything that wouldn't require me to comment on the quality of the film. You know what I'm saying? And I was interviewing Amanda, and she was super nice, very, very nice, and very enthusiastic for the film. But it was so awkward because I would try to ask her these one-off questions that didn't get to the quality of the movie. And she would constantly like answer them, but then also answer the questions in such a way that she was kind of like, didn't you think that so-and-so was really good? And I'm like, so moving on, next question, blah, blah, blah. And I had to edit the hell out of that video when I put it up. So it was just like, I've done some interviews with people who clearly didn't want to be interviewed at the time or who were difficult, whatever, but it wasn't all that bad. It was the interview with Amanda for the movie Gone. Not because she was being difficult, quite the contrary. She was delightful, but she was so enthusiastic and trying to be so great that she kept almost putting the questions back on me about, wasn't this great and wasn't that great? And I just couldn't answer those. And I felt very uncomfortable and very awkward and very odd. And that's probably the most awkward situation I ever had when I was interviewing somebody. Thanks a lot for the question. All right. Next one comes to us from Pan Santi 98 writes, John, do you think we'll ever learn about how Maz found Luke's lightsaber? If so, in what format? Movie, comic, etc.? I don't think they need to. Honestly, I don't feel the need to. I don't lay awake at night going, but how did Maz get the lightsaber? I'm sure they will cover it, but I'm not even sure they'll cover it in the movies. I'm not even sure they're going to cover it in the movies. It'll probably be one of those great little nuggets that the movies won't cover that then one of the novels can take and run with. So I do think we will eventually find out how Maz got her hands on Luke's lightsaber. I doubt it'll be explored in the movie because honestly, narratively, it's not even that important that we know. What's important is that Rey has it and she's given it back to Luke. That's all that really matters. But it's probably something that they'll explore in the books at some point, and then we'll get some kind of definitively known stuff. All right. This next one comes to us from Nerdside21. John, thoughts regarding the newly released clips of Justice League, Cyborg, and Steppenwolf CGI? Honestly, I didn't watch them. I will watch the trailers. You put out new trailers, I'll watch the trailers, and I'll comment on the trailers. Even if you put out 8 new trailers right up to the day the movie comes out, I will. But at this point, I choose to avoid the clips. I'm making a choice for myself as a film fan to avoid the clips. I already know I'm looking forward to Justice League. I've already got my first 2 screenings of Justice League lined up. I don't need to see any more. I don't want to see any more. Now, you put out an official trailer, then I feel like I got to comment on that. But clips are another thing. So I've made the personal decision for myself as a film fan to not watch those new clips, so I cannot comment on them. But thank you for the question. All right. Next one comes to us from RYXN8, who writes, John, greetings from Ireland. What is your favorite Star Wars sketch? Mine is Adam the Rancor technician, or Adam the radar technician. Oh, by far. By far. But his name wasn't Adam. What was it? Matt. Hi, I'm Matt. I'm a radar technician. That has to be, besides that one sketch that Saturday Night Live did with Ryan Gosling, where they were abducted by aliens. I think that sketch and Matt the Radar Technician, which is Adam Driver playing Kylo Ren on Undercover Boss. If you haven't seen Matt the Radar Technician, if you haven't watched that sketch, first of all, I don't know where you've been. But if you haven't, stop what you're doing. Screw my show. Leave my show right now. Go on YouTube and search for Matt the Radar Technician and watch that sketch. To me, that and the Ryan Gosling alien abduction sketch are the funniest things Saturday Night Live has done in the last number of years. I just choke myself. Like, especially that one, was it Horatio who does it? I can't remember who says the line, but one of the cast members is supposed to be a stormtrooper going, dude, Matt straight up sucks. I just about choke. If I'm drinking something, I'll spit up all over the place. Yeah, like, look, there's been a lot of great Star Wars spoof stuff, whether it's been Family Guy or Robot Chicken or fan films or whatever. But Matt the Radar Technician, no, nothing Star Wars wise has made me laugh as hard as that. It just killed me. I loved it so much. Sorry, I killed your son. Anyway, okay, now moving on. Next question comes to us from Manjin Goku Black, who writes, John, what do you think about the possibility of Patty Jenkins directing a future Man of Steel installment? # make DCU great again. Look, I'll give you the same answer I give anybody. Who would I want to direct the next Man of Steel? Any good director, any good talented storyteller. Patty Jenkins fits that description, and she's got her hand in the universe already. So sure. But I would also say sure to any number of other talented, good directors who know how to tell good stories. But Patty Jenkins seems to make sense. She's there. She's in the DCEU. And she's a talented filmmaker. And I love what she did. She is the reason. Make no mistake about this. Patty Jenkins is the reason Wonder Woman works so well. And so give her another DCU project. Makes total sense to me. I'd be on board with it. Let's see this. This next one. This is an interesting one, and it's tough. Pierce Ducky writes, John, could the Academy take away Kevin Spacey's Oscar if they prove the allegations against him? Look, here's the thing. I don't think they should. Because what does him being a jerk and a monster outside of his profession have to do? Did that at all have anything to do with him winning his Oscar? No. He was he or was he not the best actor that year? That's the only question. That is the only question. Now, should they kick him out of the Academy if they realize, at this point moving forward, if they realize that a lot of these allegations are true? Yes, feel free, kick him out of the Academy, just like they did with Harvey Weinstein. Absolutely. But to retroactively going, oh, you're a bad person, well, therefore we'll go and take away these things that had nothing to do with you being either a good or a bad person. Like, you don't take away, look, Babe Ruth was a womanizing, drunken, a lot of things. Babe Ruth was a lot of things. They don't go back and take away Babe Ruth's records because he was a bit of a jerk outside of the profession. So I'd say, look, if these things about Kevin Spacey get proven, you take actions from here moving forward. But unless you can show to me a direct line about how winning that award, he either was or was not the best actor that year. And then what do? Take away the award and give it to the second place finisher? And then that second place finisher goes, here's my award. It's a lie. I wasn't the best actor that year, and the Academy didn't vote for me, but I get to have it anyway because of a disqualification. I look, and that in no way reflects on my feelings on what Kevin Spacey did, but it's just one of those things. Like, everybody knows what I feel about Chris Brown, the woman beater. He's won a lot of awards. Do I think you should go back? And everybody knows what I think. I don't think any entertainment show, anybody should ever work with him again, but as much as it pains my gut, I'll stand up and say, no, you shouldn't go back and retroactively say any awards or acclaim that he won for his music as an entertainer prior to the events of him beating women. You shouldn't take those away because those happened. They happened, and they were based on the merit of him as an entertainer. I think it should affect what happens from now on, but I don't feel you should retroactively go back and say, well, now that we don't like you as a person, and now that we know you've done very bad things, we're going to take away your Oscar. To me, that just doesn't make sense. I understand the righteous feeling of rage that we feel like we want to punish people. And I get that. That's totally great. But I think punishment happens from here forward, not from here backwards, unless somehow it's pointed out that the only reason Kevin Spacey won that Academy Award was because he sexually harassed somebody. If you can prove that, then I'm all for taking his Academy Award away. Otherwise, no, you punish him from here moving forward. You don't go back and take away an award for him that has nothing to do with the allegations against him. I just don't see how that makes sense. But anyway, that's just me. Some of you, I would understand. I would totally understand if some of you have a totally different opinion on that. That's fine. I'm just trying to look at it rationally, but maybe you're looking at it rationally too and have it coming up with different conclusions. I'm open to that. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. I'd love to know what you guys are thinking. All right. I got time for a few more here. I said, I want to get through a whole bunch of these tweets. It's the first day of the week. Why not? Let's get through as many as I can. Let's see. George Brown 1461 says, John, best hip hop album of all time. I don't know how you get away. You know what? For whatever reason, I'm drawing a blank on the actual name of because I think I'm confusing the names of the albums. Run DMC, one of their first albums that had My Adidas on it. The Run DMC album that had My Adidas. That is easily, and I had that in LP. That is easily the album that I spent more time listening to than probably any other album I had as a kid. Anyway, so that's just my opinion. Anyway, that's old school. SM McQuaid writes, John, isn't better to have a Middle-earth TV show, including Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, the Silmarillion, etc., instead of only Lord of the Rings, if it happened? Well, look, if they do a TV show, for those of you who don't know what he's talking about, a report came out the other day that Warner Brothers and the J.R.R. Tolkien estate and J.R.R. Tolkien is the guy who wrote The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and The Silmarillion and things like that, that negotiations are going on between Warner Brothers and the J.R.R. Tolkien estate and Amazon for Amazon to produce a live-action TV show based on Lord of the Rings. However, just because it's called Lord of the Rings, that doesn't mean it's going to just be the story of Lord of the Rings. The things that happened in, Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, Return of the King, it might just be something that happens around it. That could be before it, that could be after. I think they mean simply in the world of Lord of the Rings. So that, and besides, I still think the Silmarillion is completely unfilmable. I don't think you can properly, you cannot turn that into a movie that fans of the book will be happy with. You might be able to make a good movie out of it, but you're going to piss off the fans of the book because you cannot take that book and just put it on screen. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You could take elements of it, you could build something around it, but then it's not the Silmarillion. Besides, Silmarillion is far less well known than Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit is. So I think but you do a TV show that's built around the events of Lord of the Rings. You could certainly incorporate elements of all of those stories of Silmarillion, of Lord of the Rings, of Hobbit, all that kind of. You could certainly build those in. You couldn't do a direct translation because I've always contended it is a book that you cannot shoot the way it is. That's just my feeling of it. Maybe I'm wrong. I could totally be wrong, but that's just my thoughts on it. Let's see. This one comes us from Panikin Crybaby writes, John, did you see the end credit scene of Suicide Squad? Bruce told Amanda to shut Suicide Squad down. Yeah, what Amanda Waller's going to do what Amanda Waller wanted to do. And we already know another Suicide Squad movie is coming, so that's really kind of irrelevant. Let's see. This one comes to us from Weekend 55, where it's John. Do you think we will see the pilot of the Kryptonian ship in Man of Steel, of the Man of Steel fights Steppenwolf in the ancient battle in Justice League? Well, we already know who the pilot of the Kryptonian ship was. Like, for those of you who don't know what he's talking about, in Man of Steel, when Kal-El finds the Kryptonian ship, there are two pods inside the ship. One pod inside of is a decayed corpse skeleton. The other pod is open with no body in it. Now, we know who was in that pod because there was a prequel comic book that came out before Batman v Superman hit theaters. Like a month before Batman vs. Superman hit theaters, they put out a prequel comic book. And in that pod was Kara Zor-El. Or Kara Jor-El, I should say. Or is it Zor-El? It might be Zor-El. Anyway, was Kara, who is, of course, we know her as Supergirl. And in the comic, her ship crashes like hundreds of thousands of years ago. And the last thing we see in that comic is that she survives the crash. She gets out of the pod and just starts walking off onto the horizon. It doesn't tell us what happens to her. It doesn't tell us what everything. Now, I speculated way back then, way back in, when did that movie even come out? 2012, 2013? Anyway, way back when Man of Steel came out, I speculated that, okay, so there's a Kryptonian on Earth and it's Supergirl. What if she becomes the genetic descendant of what becomes the Atlantean race? What if she is genetically what then turns into the tribe on Themyscira? What if Supergirl ends up on Themyscira? Or whatever, however the mythology in Wonder Woman played out. But what if she is genetically the originator of the Atlantean and of the Amazonian race? Like, that would explain why you have super-powered beings living on Earth amongst other regular humans, right? Now, I don't know that that's the way they're going to go. But honestly, after the events of Wonder Woman, I doubt that theory was correct. So I doubt it. But she's there. So we already know who the pilot was. We already know who that other person was. It was Supergirl. Whether they will ever actually get into her in the movies or what happened to her, don't know. It's certainly possible. Maybe she's there with that first ancient battle of Steppenwolf. We'll have to wait and see. Let's see. Next one is Frizz by Jalen, who writes, John, who, sorry if this is bothering, would you want to direct Transformer 7? Same answer as always. As long as it's a good, talented director, I don't care. Next one. Paz Santi 98 writes, John, out of the three main MCU trilogies, Iron Man, Cap, Thor, who do you want to get a fourth film the most? You know, it's very tempting coming off of watching Thor Ragnarok to say Thor, because I'm just coming off of Thor Ragnarok, and I love Thor Ragnarok. It was a super fun, great, intelligent movie, interweaving some really dark stuff, some tragic consequences, some devastating losses, all with great humor and a great entertainment, high energy level value. It's a wonderful film. But I'm going to go Cap. I will straight up go Captain America. He is by far my favorite character in the MCU, the way they've been doing it. I think he's the most interesting. I think he is the centerpiece of the MCU. He is the embodiment of all the best values of the heroes of the MCU. I love Captain America. So definitely I would choose Captain America. Okay, next one comes to us from Dark Zach, who writes, John, is it possible the MCU is going to... John, is it possible the MCU is going to make Thanos a great villain that surpasses the others? Well, it's possible. Look, they're certainly going to use Thanos much more than they've used their previous villains, other than maybe Loki. Because as we all know, Marvel's theory is that our movies are based on our heroes. The villains are there to help tell the hero story. That's it. So they've never wanted to put a lot of emphasis and focus on their villains. Therefore, a lot of the villains feel kind of shallow and weak. And look, I love the MCU. You know I love the MCU. But that is one of their problems. That and fake killing everybody all the time. But besides that, so Thanos is clearly, we've already heard from one of the Russo brothers, that Thanos is practically a lead in this movie, in the upcoming Avengers Infinity War. I almost again said Justice League Infinity War. There's your crossover. He already said that Thanos is practically a lead in Avengers Infinity War. And therefore, so that's already a little bit of a break from what Marvel usually does. They're going to clearly use Thanos a lot more than they've used their traditional villain, other than maybe Loki, because they use him quite heavily because he's so popular with the fans. So I think there's a very good chance. that Thanos could end up being the best villain that we've ever had in an MCU movie. It's possible. It's certainly possible. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for joining me. Hey, guys, listen, I want to remind you, tomorrow is the best day of the week. It's Tuesday, which means tomorrow it's time for Star Wars Talk Tuesdays, best day of the week. Listen, guys, if you got Star Wars related questions, don't forget, email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com, but instead of putting topic in the subject line, put SWTT, of course, Star Wars Talk Tuesdays. Put SWTT in the subject line, and maybe we'll see your question pop up when we talk all things Star Wars. That's why I love Tuesdays. That's at 1 p.m. I do it live. 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time tomorrow. Make sure you join me for that. Of course, the John Campea Show will be back as always. I've got my newest 5 Great Things video coming, which is, of course, the little series of videos I've done a couple on, which is taking even the worst movies and trying to find good things in them. And the next one is 5 Great Things about Ryan Reynolds, the Green Lantern. That video is coming up in the next couple of days. Keep your eyes open for that. And as well as a lot of the other stuff I do here. Guys, listen, make sure you click the thumbs up button. Leave your thoughts and comments below. And I cannot stress this enough, guys. And I've been very proud of our chat board lately. But remember, let's not be those 5 and 6-year-old morons that, that inhabit a lot of other chat boards and things like that. Let's remember that we're engaging in these great fun debates and discussions about our different opinions on movies, that we're all on the same team. We are all film fans. We just have different points of view of certain movies and whatever. And that's great. That's fun. Just remember to treat each other respectfully as you're passionately debating, because that's what real film fans do. Don't be one of these blind corporate zombie slaves. Be a real film fan. Debate and argue and discuss and all that kind of stuff, but do so respectfully of one another, because at the end of the day, we're all film fans together. So make sure you do that as well. Make sure you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitter, simply at John Campea. That will do it for me today, guys. At least for the John Campea Show. I have more videos coming up today, obviously. Thanks so much for joining. My name is John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.